No, sit down, please. Can I have everybody seated, please? I know there's excitement to know the winner, but... All right. Since the judges are ready with the result, I'd like to invite them onto the dais to let us know who's the final winner of this, from the podium. Who's the winner of the Shark Tank session?
So as is often the case, it isn't easy to decide and to decide who is better than another in such important spaces, which all the participants clearly have a tremendous role to play in society as we go forward. We do have a unanimous decision, but that after a little discussion. And our choice is Kamveda, Mr. Krishna. Now, you might ask what led us to this. We believe that of all the areas that are critical going forward, it is going to have to be about how we deal with this change. The change that must come in the way our Safai folks across the country are treated. And it is these Karamcharis who actually carry the message going forward. But even more important, to have people like Mr. Krishna and his team who work in the space to begin to commit their time to doing the right thing at a social level and going beyond their call of duty is very important to see. And another key area for us is to have a group or a company like this actually now look at creating entrepreneurs. The fact that we could create businesses around those that can own these machines and help drive that change by getting municipalities to accept this, by getting corporates to support this effort, and maybe even a role that the India Sanitation Coalition can help create the entrepreneurs who can take this work forward. So entrepreneurs who would work in it for profit, corporates who can support it, and indeed improve the lot of a very important section of society, which is critical for the cleanliness of the nation going forward. So an interesting model, it's needing support, it's needing attention, and one that we are very happy to have as the winner here. So thank you. So if I can invite my fellow jurists up. Yeah.
Maybe ahead of the dais, we have a photo of you with the winner.
We'll come in front.
I think we can have some claps along the way. Congratulations, Mr. Krishna, and thank you so much, jury, for giving us your time and coming up with this result. We'll now proceed with the next session.
The final session of ISC Sanitation Conclave and ISC FICCI Sanitation Awards. This session focuses on sharing knowledge, challenges, and best practices in the space of sanitation among the youth stakeholders of change. Now I would request the panel members to please come up. Mr. Ayush Bed. Mr. Afzal Muttikal. Amit Arora. And finally, Gurkirat Sachdeva. I would also request Ruchika to please come up and moderate the session.
today's session. Just briefly about insights. So one of our panelists have to leave, so I'm just going to be in a fast forward mode. Insights is a platform that Taru, ISC, and IRC put together in terms of just sharing of experiences, challenges, learning, research studies, best practices. So we have these kind of forums at the national and at the regional levels on issues around sanitation. This session is going to be around youth and sanitation, and we're going to start with Ayush. Just a brief introduction. We have Ayush from Global Citizen, Afzal from Gen Robotics, Amit from Doordarshan, and Kirat from Youth Ki Awaaz. I'll give you a detailed introduction later because Ayush has to leave in 5 minutes. So we're going to start with him in terms of understanding how Global Citizen has been active in terms of involving youth for sanitation. And going ahead, what do you see as areas that you'd like to focus on more and inform other sector colleagues that need to be worked on more?
Hi. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. At the onset, I'd like to apologize because I have to run in 5 minutes. I have a flight to catch, so apologies for that. But thanks for your question. So I think at Global Citizen, the idea with which our foundation, the Global Education and Leadership Foundation, brought Global Citizen, which is an international nonprofit, to India was that we deeply believe that not just in sanitation, but in any area of change, if you really want to catalyze change, along with the potency of the government and the public sector, the resources of the private sector, and the expertise of the non-profit sector, all of which ISC is trying to bring together on one platform through this great initiative, the most important catalyst for change is also the idealism of young people. And therefore, both at our foundation, the Global Education and Leadership Foundation, and Global Citizen, the idea was to build a lasting movement in India of young people who can work together to help achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. We had the first Global Citizen Festival in 2016, and over 2 million young people in India took actions that helped us raise over $6 billion in support of the SDGs, and over $2.5 billion in support of sanitation specifically, which was one of the prime SDGs that we decided to focus on during the first Global Citizen Festival. And as far as the future is concerned, very briefly, I'd just like to say that I think today we live in a very interesting time because there are two forces that are at play, and the confluence of those forces genuinely make me believe that we can achieve great heights as far as ensuring that everyone has access to sanitation is concerned, as far as ensuring that we are able to end extreme poverty is concerned. And those two forces are, one, we have a generation of millennials who actually care. I go around the world, I meet people around, young people like myself around the world, and I see a lot of empathy, concern, care, maybe because technology has allowed us to be aware of what's happening in the world. I see young people speaking in different languages, speaking in from different cultures, from different religions, but speaking the same lingo of saying that, you know, enough is enough. We do not want this world to be inequitable. We want to be people, we want to be equitable. We want a world where everyone, everywhere has the ability to realize their full potential, and where you reach is not determined only by genetic lottery. And I think that's very heartening. And the second most important force that has further strengthened the idealism and the spirit of young people is technology. We are more connected today than ever before. And using this technology, if we can amplify the voice of young people, and most importantly, hold our leaders accountable around the world to the promises they make and to the responsibility that we bestow upon them by electing them, then I think we are looking towards a very, very different world. And I think the speed of change will be unprecedented. And the idea at Global Citizen is to build this movement using technology, hold our leaders accountable, and unite the voices of young people around the world to actually catalyze change.
Good. Thanks. Thanks, Ayush. I'm going to move to Kirat. Ayush touched upon generation of millennials who care and a bit about technology, and it'd be nice to have an understanding of youth ki awaaz and how you're using these
Right.
both these points in your work, and if you'd focus more in terms of what you're doing in sanitation with respect to that.
Okay, so thank you for the introduction and setting a good context, Ayush, for why we need to harness that potential and why enabling those spaces and voices is equally important to ensure that even somebody who does not have equal access, their issues and their voices are also not left behind. Youth Ki Awaaz is India's largest crowdsourced media platform. And the entire idea behind the platform was to create a space that enables young people to talk about key social justice issues in the manner that they own them the best. So, this could be through either personal stories, through their social commentary, through what their take is, through how they make sense of news, and the kind of change that they want to see. Um, the Youth Ki Awaaz community has now, over 11 years, built at a scale where we have over 70,000 citizen writers and 4 million readers read the platform every month. Um, Leveraging this entire active citizenship that we have built on the platform is where we started doing our campaigns, where we partner with high impact organizations from the UNs to local NGOs to national NGOs, and basically build that connect that if you equip people with the right information and that access to knowledge and move them to an action, they can create a lot of change. And with this entire objective, our campaign methodology is revolved around crowdsourcing opinions or crowdsourcing data. Our campaigning model is what is centered around it. And building on that aspect is where in 2014 we started our first campaign on wash, which was with the water aid. It was called In Deep Shit, which was basically how India's sanitation is in deep shit through different lenses. And that was a time when our campaigning model was centered around creating this content and moving people from information to action, that these are different lenses from which you could examine the issue, to a place where across all campaigns sanitation has become an important cross sectional lens, whether it's access to education or employment, whether it's how accessible are sanitation facilities to people with for people with disabilities, from an MHM lens as well. That has been our it has become like our core language, and it's heartening to see that even beyond a campaign existing on the platform, people are actively talking about sanitation. 2 days back somebody had posted an article on their own, this is irrespective of any campaign existing or our individual outreach, of how they are examining whether election manifestos are incorporating wash as a core ask of their campaign or not. And even when there are deaths in septic tanks or other news items, we feel that it's good that the conversation has gone beyond YK, and people are taking on that conversation, owning that issue, and holding decision makers at different levels accountable from a human rights lens.
Thank you. So moving from organization campaigns, international level, and then at the national level, who are looking at bringing youth together in terms of having their opinions on sanitation. Just wanted to check one other thing. Are these youth just centered around urban centers, or does it incorporate both urban and rural youth?
So our platform is bilingual, and this year we aim to go into 5 more regional languages. And apart from the platform, our offline engagement and events also form a core part. So it's not that we are engaging with only one section of the audience. We create content that is consumable, shareable, has a human interest angle, and can from the so-called apathy of young people that they don't care and they're sitting in this bubble of privilege, there is given good access for them to basically take on those issues in their own ways. So the last phase of In Deep Shit actually had a lot of, it was solely a campaign that we ran in Hindi and had stories from the entire Hindi belt of communities and people who are actually working on the issue, or former manual scavengers talking about the challenges that they face, both from a policy and a stigma point of view. So the idea is to go beyond that audience as well and widen our reach. And it's great to see that even beyond YK, like Scoop Whoop had done this documentary as a part of Chase, that was their series they had done on manual scavenging. The Wire has its own repository of content called The Grid. So it's good to see that that conversation has gone beyond our platform. There are other publications that are actively talking about the issue and they're reaching different audiences. So the more the dialogue is public led, people led, is where we would want that to be.
Great. Thank you. We're going to move from civil society initiatives and talking about issues around sanitation to solutions in sanitation and how youth has played a role in that. So, Afsal, if you could share about your innovation, and mostly we've seen innovations, they are at the start of the sanitation chain, mostly around toilets, toilet designs and everything. It's nice to know yours is towards the end.
Yeah. Actually, we were more in robotics and all while we were studying in college and all. So we were developing it for 2 years and all. Since one news we heard about one of the auto rickshaw driver who helped a sewer manhole cleaner, and that stage of helping, that auto rickshaw driver got the gas poisonous and he got died. So in that news came into our mind, and that thing actually rethinked about the utilization of robotics in the sanitation. So we actually thought about nobody's coming into the these technological things can be correlated with the sanitation and all. So we actually rethink all about if everyone is thinking that robot is like a thing that's walking and it's like an artificial intelligence who are talking with the guys and helping things and all. So we actually rethinking about helping the sanitation sector, and we came to know about the situation of the sanitation and all. So basically we came like that, and we started doing case study on this sanitation and all. So we still got the data that still man is entering into the manhole and still cleaning into manhole and all. So we were friends and all. We started a company and we started solving this problem. Right now we have implemented is in 7 states and in 14 municipal corporations. And right now we are working on completely changing the future of sanitation through the robotics.
Interesting. Thank you. And you were how many? How many of you got this group company together?
We were together 4 members.
4 members.
Yeah.
Oh.
Now we have a team of 35.
Okay. Great. So you're part of the core group, and you mentioned you're working with ULBs in India, but also out of India.
Yes, also we are working in Dubai also. So this problem is arising not only in India also. It's on the global crisis.
Yeah.
So the solution we came up with is a global solution.
Thank you. We'll come back to you. We have Amit with us, who's from Doordarshan, and he's the voice behind the Republic Day and Independence Day, which was most interesting. By training, he's a chartered accountant, and he's also a steering committee member of Susanna. Yeah, he's a steering committee member of Susanna. Yeah, so you've been covering various government programs, national programs, but you must have also seen the total sanitation campaign, the Nirmal Bharat, and now Swachh Bharat. And Swachh Bharat's been able to mobilize many more stakeholders than before, and it's looked at urban and rural, that's obvious, but in terms of the corporate sector, other civil societies who were not working on wash, even they're involved. We also have new initiatives like the Tata's Swachhta Preraks at the district level who are supporting district administration. From your view, what has been the youth's role in all of this, in the whole mission till now, and where do you see that they could pitch in more going ahead?
Well, thanks, Ruchika. Good afternoon, everyone. I think the first big question is, who do we include in the definition of youth? Is it Afsal, who creates Bandicoot? Or is it Mr. Krishna, who wins the Shark Tanks? Is it me? Is it you? I think anyone who has passion, energy is youth, though we can have a definition based upon age as well. I think that my work in media makes me interact with so many people. If I have to answer the question as to how do I see role of youth, broadly I will say there are 4 categories. One is the role youth can play in terms of volunteering work. Second, as an intern or fellowship. Third, job seeker. Fourth, job creator or an entrepreneur. Let me give you examples in each of these 4 categories. The first category is volunteer. I think each one of us should do volunteering work in whichever field we are passionate about. As far as sanitation is concerned, Government of India came up with the program of Swachhagrahis, or the foot soldiers of Swachh Bharat mission. And it is very heartening that we have almost 5 lakh Swachhagrahis. And if you look at it, a significant number of them are youth, in the sense that they are very young, between the age group of, say, 15 to 30. India certainly has that demographic dividend right now, that of 1.3 billion population. 2/3 of our population is in that age group. So they bring certain amount of energy, innovation, capability to embrace technology, more risk-taking ability. So volunteers certainly have played a role, whether it is behavioral change. These Swachhagrahis have gone from household to household, created awareness. They have done geotagging of the assets that have been created for sanitation. A lot of work, no pay, just volunteering. This has to come from within. This is a matter of consciousness. Everyone needs to contribute. The second one is intern, where once you have tested the waters and you like that particular field, so you did some social work in sanitation and you liked it. You would like to get more skilled in it, but at the same time, you also need to get some dollars. Please be an intern. So Swachh Bharat mission with the Ministry of Drinking Water and Sanitation last year did introduce a concept of internship, which did get a lot of good response. So we can apply for them. The other thing is, like one of the Shark Tank's participant was mentioning, I think Gunjan, about the period fellowship. I quite like that idea. So when she says that her company is wanting to get from 16 to 200, from 6 to 12 states, that's an opportunity there. Become a fellow. This is a more targeted approach in the area that you feel that you're interested in, now that you have tested the waters as a volunteer. So that's the second field, internship fellowship. You learn a bit more, you earn a bit as well. Third is a job seeker. Unfortunately, out of 1.3 billion, most of us have oriented all these 70 years since independence towards being a job seeker. But now in last decade or so, you can see a major shift, a paradigm shift, where we are understanding that if everybody were to seek a job, then who will create? It is so heartening that we have Afsal, who says that we were 4 people in the same college in Malappuram in Kerala. Now they're employing 35 people. So those 30 have got jobs because there is a job creator as well. So the third category of job seeker is where we also had this, what you mentioned, Ruchika, Zilla Swachh Bharat Preraks, where the idea was that, okay, every district, let's get one professional, a technical guy, somebody who's very talented in a particular domain expertise. Let's get that person on hire, on payroll. So Zilla Swachh Bharat Prerak was on payroll, worked very closely with the district collector office. And so that was also a very nice initiative. And the fourth category, which I think is very dearest to my heart, and I think each one of us is an entrepreneur. 24 hours is what each one of us has. We are the CEOs of our life. How do we use that? So we are all entrepreneurs. And I think going forward, this is the category where one would like the youth to really come up, because there are so many questions. There's so much to be aware of. When Mr. Krishna mentioned about MS Act, I tweeted straight away. I said, there is an MS Act 2013. The question is, who will enforce it? And I tagged Swachh Bharat and 2-3 more people. We need to spread awareness. At least somebody will answer. What is fecal sludge management? How do we treat that? So when India Sanitation Coalition FICCI says that we are looking at the life cycle approach to sanitation of build, use, maintain, and treat, I think youth has a big role as an entrepreneur to offer solutions to some of these challenging things that we've been hearing for last lot of time.
We're going to come back, but before that, if people have any questions or clarifications, could you introduce yourself?
Okay, my name is Samir Mehta. I come from a company by the name of Manifold, which is in Gurgaon, Manesar.
Yeah, we can keep the questions fairly short because we're short of time and because we just want them.
Difference between Nirmal Bharat and Swachh Bharat?
Well, I think branding. Branding and marketing is very essential. Please understand, I was very happy that when the 4 people were presenting, it was expected that the sharks will ask you about the economic viability. You can have very good noble intent. It will not function. It will not scale up till the time we have talked about its financial viability. We had Nirmal Bharat. I remember on Doordarshan, I had a live interview with the then Minister for Drinking Water and Sanitation, Agata Sangma, daughter of P.A. Sangma. And we discussed about Nirmal Bharat. So I still have memories of Nirmal Bharat. But ask this audience, learned audience that has worked in the sanitation field, how many of us were aware about Nirmal Bharat, the aspects of it? Because while we may have a good idea on paper, but that is where it remains. I believe firmly that for any business to succeed, marketing and innovation are the two prime functions. Everything else is a byproduct. So the difference is, fundamental difference is the branding between the two. And the second part, that no longer it is a government program, it is fast becoming people's movement.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions or clarifications about the work of the three organizations? One is left. Yeah. Okay. Just in terms of our final bit of inputs from you, I think Ayush mentioned the SDGs, and what we mentioned is through the Swachh Bharat, we have had increased access, we've had increased usage. But going ahead, we need to have sustained access and sustained usage, and also the fact that the fecal waste, whether it goes in a sewer or is in pits or tanks, that they're safely managed. That's what our requirement for the SDGs are. Keeping in mind that in terms of sustained efforts, you require the same amount of stakeholders to be interested for a longer period of time, also for youth to be involved in this whole process. What do you think are key gaps that we haven't touched upon yet, or we need to touch upon more, that we need to be much more mindful of going ahead?
One would be to not see just infrastructural interventions or optics as the end all of everything, that now this has been met,
Yeah.
but actually, again, what Amit also mentioned, even being as citizens, we are equally responsible of being aware of the issue on ground, of being thorough with it, of knowing which policymaker or decision maker do we need to hold accountable.
Yeah.
When we are also creating a noise, where is that noise reaching, and how can we create that access? We have access to mediums and platforms, but leveraging that, not letting go of that accountability. And also, again, having a bottom up approach through all interventions and programs, or even language for that matter. It's not a particular community's responsibility only, but having that shared responsibility is where we need to actively work on. It's not a task done.
Yeah.
And not being custodians of that conversation, that it's my activism is better than yours. It's good if it snowballs, and if it's good that there are more stakeholders and more people on board, only then will truly change happen. It can't be restricted.
Thanks. Afzal, in your work, you work more on the technology front, and you worked on the sewer pipes and the cleaning of that. You mostly focus on that. What do you see? You work with ULBs closely. What do you see as change that still needs to happen, and do you see a role of youth or other organizations in that?
Actually, the thing is that there are main two things, as you mentioned, the youth, you told. People need is awareness and the aspiration. Awareness in the sense of awareness about how the youth didn't know how the Indian sanitation things are working. And then they can do accordingly, whether you want to throw the waste here or small awareness about the things and all. And also, I told this awareness and this aspiration is connected. The aspiration is coming like it's a contribution. That part is a contribution to the sanitation department. So only from this awareness, these young minds can only get this kind of contribution to the sanitation itself. So in sense of technological side, and as Gurgra doing things and all, that kind of things also, it's a contribution to the sanitation also. So that kind of awareness need to be more of in the coming future generations and all. So for that, the youth need to do it from their home itself. Not we want to go other home and do the things and all. So these youth might have these social media connectivities and all. So we can use the media for all for aspiring the youth, and also some behavioral changes also needed for our young and all the elder one also. So it's very difficult to change the elder one and the oldest one and all. So the youth is very easy to manipulate. It's very easy. So these social medias have a key role, and also I think the Swachh Bharat mission have to do the things on the education system also. So in education system, we have to add more about the behavioral changes, psychology things and all, for the better things and all. Then only we can change these
Can you
things
be
and all.
more specific about the behavior change you're talking here? Change towards what?
Yeah, example, when we travel in other countries and all, when we travel, maybe some water bottle will be with us. So in travel and in metro station or we don't know how to whether we should keep the bottle here. So we are confused actually. So when we ask someone from that native country, they're feeling like whether I don't know whether it's keeping or we don't actually do it like this. So it's like they thought like that from their behavior itself, from the
From the start.
yeah, from scratch itself. So that is for the future I am talking about. For the present, we need rehabilitation things and all, and we are also doing rehabilitation for the manhole cleaners. We are doing rehabilitation classes, medical camps, things like that, awareness program, how these things will get their health problems and all. So that is major thing they want to know. Right now, the workers are doing like they're drinking and they're going down. They're not bothered about the things and all. So major thing is the awareness of the health issues that related to these things and all, and how these things we are doing against the sanitation department will lead to other health problems and all. Kind of awareness is very much changed.
How has the uptake of this behavior change initiative been with the sanitation workers?
Sorry?
How has the uptake, as in terms of you telling all of these things? How has that worked? As in, what has the response been?
Yeah. Some people are telling me that we were not able to know about these things. Some people are telling right now I'm not going to do this job again. I'm not going to do this again. So that kind of replies are we are getting and all. So most of them are very old age peoples and all. So and I don't know whether the coming generation is going to do this kind of job and all.
So mostly the sanitation workers you've engaged with are much older than.
Yeah.
I mean, do you have any kind of inputs as far as the areas like you mentioned in terms of which are the different ways in which youth can be engaged? But what exactly in sanitation? Because when we talk of sanitation, we talk of behavior change to multiple other things in terms of technology and other forming opinions, making governments accountable, and all of that. Where do you think we can engage and use the energies of youth most?
Yeah, I think that awareness holds the key. This is a people's movement. We need to strengthen it from here. It's a beautiful accomplishment that over the last years, all the stakeholders have worked very hard. That comes 2nd of October 2019, we will be ODF India. That's a beautiful milestone, but this is just the first step. So for the entire BUMT approach, awareness holds the key. We need interactions with youth at urban, rural, everywhere, every district. Knowledgeable people can go, they can do storytelling, create joyful quizzes, plays, nukkar, drama, whichever way. But please tell them, empathize them, that every year we have 1 million children dying because of diarrhea. 10 lakh children dying because of diarrhea. Not even one should die. This is a preventable step. So why is it that we are not empathetic towards this statistic? I heard Mr. Krishna say that every 5 days, one Safai Karamchari dies in a sewer. This is what we need to tell the youth. I think once we tell the youngsters that this is happening, they will become far more sensitive to it. And once they understand the problem statement better, trust me, we've got many youngsters like Afzal who will create many more technological innovations that you and I probably can't even perceive right now. Who would have thought that instead of a manual scavenger, we could just send a machine at great depth, work with municipalities, have all the permutations, combinations. This appears so nice. So this is the way to improve the efficiency of the municipalities. And I only hope people become more accountable, especially the civic agencies. This will happen with partnership of everyone.
Thank you. We're short of time, otherwise we would have had various other examples that are there. I can see Water for People's Jalbandhus that are there. Gunjan's been involved also with other youth on issues of MHM and all. But since we're short of time, and unfortunately we can't take that in right now. So broadly, what's been interesting is the generation of millennials care, and one of the way to reach out to them is awareness, and technology helps a great deal. Yeah. So that's been the main thing, and the change what even Amit mentioned, that we have had several national sanitation programs in the past. What's helped is the huge awareness, the marketing and the branding around it to get more stakeholders interested and involved. And that for sure has made some dent somewhere. We all know there has been progress, but a lot in the fields that we work in has still to be done. And it's interesting to know that we can involve youth in various ways, even in terms of reaching those goals of ours. And hopefully we will focus more in terms of the sustainability of sanitation services for everyone, everywhere. Yeah, thank you. Are there any last comments from the audience anywhere? Anyone? Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to quickly thank the panelists and the lovely audience here for making through this half a day with lovely session. Thanks to Taru and IRC for putting together and curating such lovely content. Ladies and gentlemen, what you heard today is just mere glimpses of the India of today, the youth of today, and what's to come tomorrow. So thank you very much again. I will not take any further time here. We have made arrangements to serve lunch on level 3 banquet. So please, you could proceed there. Thank you very much.